Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiki. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, prayers of Kunti, and text number 41. Atha Vishvesha Vishwatman Vishwamurte Swakeshu Me Sneham Bhasham Imam Chindi Dradam Pandu Suvrishnishu Atha Vishvesha Vishwatman Vishwamurte Swakeshu Me Sneham Bhasham Imam Chindi Dradam Pandu Suvrishnishu Atha Vishvesha Vishwatman Vishwamurte Swakeshu Me Sneham Bhasham Imam Chindi Dradam Pandu Suvrishnishu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kinsman, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Please repeat the translation. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kinsman, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Purport. Pure devotee of the Lord is ashamed to ask anything in self-interest from the Lord. But the householders are sometimes obliged to ask favors from the Lord, being bound by the tie of family affection. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and therefore she prayed to the Lord to cut off the affectionate tie from her own kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. The Pandavas are her own sons, and the Vrishnis are the members of her paternal family. Krishna was equally related to both the families. Both the families required the Lord's help because both were dependent devotees of the Lord. Srimati Kunti Devi wished Sri Krishna to remain with her sons, the Pandavas. But by his doing so, her paternal house would be bereft of the benefit. All these partialities troubled the mind of Kunti, and therefore she desired to cut off the affectionate tie. Pure devotee cuts off the limited ties of affection for his family and widens his activities of devotional service for all forgotten souls. The typical example is the band of six Goswamis followed the path of Lord Chaitanya. All of them belong to the most enlightened and cultured rich families of the higher castes. But for the benefit of the mass of population, they left their comfortable homes and became mendicants. To cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities. Without doing this, no one can be qualified as a Brahmana, king, a public leader, or a devotee of the Lord. The personality of Godhead as an ideal king showed this by example. Sri Ramchandra cut off the tie of affection for his beloved wife to manifest the qualities of an ideal king. Such personalities as a Brahmana, a devotee, a king, or a public leader must be very broad-minded in discharging their respective duties. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact. And being weak, she prayed to be free from such bondage of family affection. The Lord is addressed as the Lord of the universe, the Lord of the universal mind, indicating his all powerful ability to cut the hard knot of family affection. Therefore, it is sometimes experienced that the Lord, out of his special affinity towards a weak devotee, breaks the family affection by force of circumstances arranged by his all powerful energy. By doing so, he causes the devotee to become completely dependent on him and thus clears the path for his going back to Godhead. Thus, in the Bhakti Vedanta purport, ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी भाष्यादेशधारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So now we are coming close to the end of the prayers of Kunti Maharani. And as we see, Kunti Maharani is a great devotee of the Lord, and her prayers are very, very advanced prayers. So today, in this verse, she's saying, Ata Vishvesha Vishwatman Vishwa Murte Swakeshu Me. She's addressing the Lord, the Vishvesha. You are the Isha of Vishwa, the Lord of the universe. Vishwa Atman, you are the soul of the universe. And Vishwa Murte, the personality of the form of the universe. And what is her prayer to the Supreme Lord? She's saying, Swakeshu Me. Swakeshu means my own kinsman. Swakeshu Me, my Swakeshu, my own kinsman, Sneha Pasham, I have the tie of affection. So then she is praying, Chindi, cut off this tie of affection from Swakeshu Me, which is what kind of knot it is? It is very dridam, very strong knot. And who are these people? Swakeshu, Pandushu, and Vrishnishu. So Pandus means the son of Pandu, Pandavas, her own sons. So this is the family from her husband's side. And then Vrishnis, she belonged to the Vrishni Vamsha. So that is the family from his father's side. So one family from the husband's side, own sons, and another family is from the father's sides. And she has the affection for everyone. And Prabhupada writes here that if she prays, that Lord, you please stay back here. That was her prayer earlier. Stay with our family, Panduju. Then the family, the Vrishnis, they will be bereft of Krishna's association. And both the families, they are surrendered devotees of the Lord. So everybody needs Lord's blessings, Lord's mercy. So if she prays that you stay here with us, then they will be bereft. And if he goes there, then we'll be bereft. So that trauma, that confusion creates a little, disturbance to the consciousness that what should I do now? Shall I pray to stay back or to go back? So this caused the disruption in the consciousness. And she's feeling herself very weak. She's saying, I'm weak. I don't know how to cut off. So you, my dear Lord, you only cut off this tie of affection. Otherwise, I remain attached to my family. This affection is there. Then naturally there will be disturbance in my consciousness. So that is the main point here. Why she want to cut off this tie of affection? Because that is causing some disturbance in the consciousness. So this is a very, very important point for all of us to understand here. Prabhupada started the purport by saying that pure devotee of the Lord is ashamed to ask anything. They never ask anything. But sometimes devotee has to ask. And devotee feels helpless. What to do? It is beyond my control, beyond my power to handle this emotion. So then devotees they pray to the Lord. So Kunti Maharani, though she is a pure devotee, she doesn't ask anything to the Lord. But in this situation, she is feeling herself very helpless and very weak. She is saying, my dear Lord, Sneha Bhasham Imam Chindi Dadam Pandu Vishnu. So this Tradam, this very hard knot of this affection towards my family, please cut off. Pandushu and Vishnushu. Right. So this is very, very important that unless this attachment is not cut off, this affection is not gone, then there is no possibility of getting attached to Krishna. We all need to be attached somewhere in this world, either to the worldly relations, worldly people and possessions, or we get attached to Krishna. So devotee is naturally interested in getting attached to Krishna. So that is why she's saying that let this attachment, you cut off this so that I can get attached to you. Right. If I remain falsely attached to these families, then my real purpose in life to be attached to you will be lost. So yes, we have to get attached, but we should know where to get attached. If we remain attached in this world and the people around us, then there's hardly any scope for getting attached to Krishna. So this attachment, this worldly attachment has to be cut off. So Kunti Maharani is praying here. So Prabhupada is writing, Prabhupada explains in one of the lecture, he says, one cannot become unattached, for one must be attached to something. But in order to become attached to Krishna or enter into the devotional service of the Lord, one has to become detached from material affection. So we cannot just simply become unattached. That no, I don't want to attach to anything. No, you need some attachment. Then only detachment will come. So if you want to become detached to these worldly things, worldly people, then you have to parallelly become attached to Krishna. That is the way. And that is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. It's not artificial negation like the Mayavadis, naiti, naiti, not this, not this, not this. That is not our philosophy. Our philosophy is how we become more and more attached to Krishna. And to the degree we get attached to Krishna more, to that degree we become detached to the things and the people around us. So she is praying that Lord, please help me to get detached from all this worldly people and worldly relations and family members so that I can become more attached to you. Right. So our suffering in this world is due to attachment. As soon as you get attached, we are paving the path for suffering. It will cause suffering sooner or later. In one of the verse in the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj explains what is this attachment is, how we create this attachment. He used a nice analogy. Says that this creating attachment in this world is, he compares this with the silkworm. So what happens is silkworm, it creates its own cocoon. They release some kind of a saliva. It's a very soft, this thing, saliva, and he releases that silkworm. And with that saliva, it creates some cocoon. And you say, oh, this is so nice. So initially it is very soft, but when it dries, it becomes very hard. So he creates his own cocoon and then he get stuck, captured in his own cocoon. He cannot come out because the saliva after drying, it becomes very hard. He cannot break it. So he created something which he got imprisoned into and now is not able to come out. So Prabhupada writes there that similarly, the materialistic householder's entanglement becomes so tight that he cannot come out of the cocoon of the family attraction. We only create that. And then there's so many miseries. He knows there's so many miseries in the materialistic family life. He cannot break free. Why? He thinks sex life and eating palatable dishes are most important. Therefore, in spite of so many miserable conditions, he cannot give them up. So this is the kind of, the attachment, the cocoon that we create in this material world, which is very nice in the beginning. A nice wife, very loving, caring, nice small kids, very loving, very obedient kids. And he says, he thinks, the householder thinks, oh, this is so wonderful. My life is, I'm enjoying my life. without realizing that in no time, this cocoon which has been created with a soft saliva, it will become a very hard shell that you won't be able to even break free. And then the householders, they remain stuck into that family life. Shastra says after 50 years, one prastha, one should take the one prastha. They understand, but they're stuck. The attachment is so strong. So, what will happen to my wife, my kids? And this is still I have to do this, that, and they remain stuck in that. The whole purpose of human life is defeated. So, this is the nature of the attachment in this material world, and that will become the cause of suffering in this world. So, one of the associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he composed many verses, and one of the verse from that very famous verse, Prabhupada also quotes, and then it is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, Madhya Leela, 6th chapter. So he explains Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He glorifies Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by this verse. He says, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Sikshartham Eka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariridhari Kripam Budhiryas Tam Aham Prapadye. So he says, Tam Aham Prapadye, let me take the shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna, who had descended in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari. So Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he has come in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And why he has come? To teach us the knowledge of devotional service. And along with Vairagya Vidya, Nij Bhakti Yoga, is teaching his own bhakti, and also is teaching us that become detached from whatever which does not foster Krishna consciousness. This is the principle of surrender. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam. Anything which is not favorable for Krishna consciousness, one should immediately give it up. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, Sikcharthakam. Why he came? Siksha Arthakam, to teach to that Supreme Lord, I should take the shelter. So this is how the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya he glorifies Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Vairagya Vidya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching Vairagya Vidya. So as being the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we all should practice, we should learn this Vairagya Vidya. Right? So Kunti Maharani, she is praying here, kindly help me become detached from these families. Thus, she illustrated that one must become detached from society, friendship, and love, all of which will otherwise entangle us. In this material world, there is innumerable traps to get attached. Bhagavatam explains. What is that verse? Anybody knows? Famous verse. Prabhupada quotes many times. How the people can get attached. Yes, that is verse. Many verses are there. So Prabhupada says, Yashatma buddhi guna petri dhaduke swadhi kalatradi bhaumya ijadhi yat tirtha buddhi salilena karhichit janesho vignesho saeva ghokara. So this is Atma Buddhi. That how a person in this world can get attached to so many things. So many things. Some of the things that we can remember, like we can discuss here. So maybe just remember just a few P's. P. One thing is personal self. Atma Buddhi Gunapetri Dhatuke. That oh, I am this body, which is made out of three dhatu. So he get attached to his own body. How do I look? How do I maintain? So beautiful, so intelligent. So he get trapped into that. And this major population in this modern age is all self-possessed. They can't think anything beyond their personal self. They get so attached. There's no time for Krishna consciousness, right? Because they're so caught up into personal self. So that is one P. You get attached to your personal body. Then second P, the persons, people around us, your relations, right? Like example, we can think of Dhritarashtra, Mamaka Pandavaschayava, my sons and sons of Pandu. Prabhupada explained that he was not only physically blind, he was spiritually also blind. Because of that attachment makes the person blind. He can't see that what are the consequences of this battlefield. Right? So person becomes blind. So personal self, and then people, relations. So Kunti Maharani is basically saying that Sneha Bhashamimam Chindi, Janasya Mohoyam Aham Mameti. So this is the expression given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Aham Mameti, me and mine, my body and my relations, my wife, my family, my cute kids, they get attached. It's a trap. So personal self, people. What is the third P? Possessions. People get attached to so many possessions in this material world, right? भोग ऐश्वर्य प्रसक्ता नाम दया हर इंतजाम व्यवसात्मिका बुद्धि समाधौ न विधीयते. When people are so attached to bhoga and aishwarya, oh my, big house, big palatial house, and this and that, so many things, then vyavasayatmika buddhi samadho na vidiyate. Then you cannot have that buddhi which focuses on Krishna because you are so absorbed, you are so caught up with all those possessions. you know so this is again trap, another attachment. There's this nice, I think many of us might have seen this video, that how these hunters, they hunt the monkeys in the forest. So there is a trick that what they do is they take one coconut, the shell, and make a small hole on top. And then when the monkeys are around there, so this hunter comes, and in front of all the monkeys in that hole, he start putting some eatables. So monkey knows that there's something is there to eat in this, and he leaves that, and then hunter goes away. Now monkeys look around, no hunter. He comes, and then that hole is very small that his hand can go inside, and monkey knows that something is there to eat in this. He puts his hand inside that hole. Now hand goes inside the hole, but when he picks something, some eatables, some berries, then he had to make like a fist. So he hold like this something. Now hand cannot come out. It can go like this and it can come out like this. But if you hold something like this, then it's stuck. But this monkey is so foolish, so dumb, he cannot understand that, and he gets stuck that. And he says, I had to take this. Holding possessions. And he sees that hunter is coming. And he's trying, okay, let me just, get escape quickly. Let me just, take at least some few berries. And then he gets stuck. That is how they hunt him. So similarly, the Maya captures us, because we are holding on to so many possessions in this material world, the family relations and the house and money and so many other things. So personal self, people, possessions. What else? Another thing that we get attached to is position. Another P. People are so attached to their own position. And there are a lot of stories were coming during this COVID time. People lost their job and they're like, people they're working in corporates in a very high position. Suddenly, they're sacked, kicked out from their job. So one devotee was sharing that, he went to visit someone in the hospital and he said, what happened? He got the heart attack. So what happened? He says, for that many years, I've been on that position. Suddenly, they kicked me out of the job. I couldn't handle that. How can we without that position? So people get so attached that I'm on top, I'm number one. These are all Maya or Vaibhav. Maya, throws those barriers to get you captured there. So people sometimes are attached to be, I should be number one. And if we are not careful, all those kind of mentalities comes even in the devotee community also. But I have been always number one. Here also I should be number one. So by hook and crook, by any means, I should be number one collector. I should be number one something. And then whole consciousness is spoiled. Purpose is defeated. Right. And that is why this Kunti Maharani is actually praying that I don't want all this affection. See, these people, her family members are not some karmis, some ordinary people. They're all great devotees. Pandavas are all great devotees. But she is saying that I don't want all this, attachment to even the devotees also. If that creates some disturbance in my consciousness. Now, this is very advanced level. We cannot prematurely pray like that because you always hear, oh, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha. We need devotee association, otherwise we cannot survive. But this is a very advanced level wherein devotees is just little attachment to the devotees and which disrupts my consciousness to think of Krishna and think about other things. Let us understand this point because it might be little sometime very contradictory point, but it's a very deep and very advanced point that Kunti Maharaj is praying here. So Prabhupada is writing one thing here. Prabhupada says, a pure devotee cuts off the limited ties of affection for his family and widens his activities of devotional service for all the forgotten souls. So the way to detach, to cut off this affection is you widen your scope of your activities. You remain so much engaged in the service of Krishna that everything goes its own place. So yes, there is a place for the family relations and affections and all of that. It doesn't mean that. See, when we are talking about this detachment from the family relations and affection, it doesn't mean that it is not irresponsibility. That oh, I heard these words and I don't care about my family now anymore, especially the grastas. I want to be detached from my wife, my kids. You figure out. No, that is not the way. There is a very deep meaning and very fine understanding here. So first of all, it is a very advanced stage. It cannot be done prematurely. We can aspire, but prematurely don't do and don't become irresponsible just like that. Right. So our consciousness, there are different level of consciousness is being described in the scriptures. Says the 5 level of consciousness gradations, starting from achadit, the covered consciousness, which is like the example are the trees. They are all conscious beings, but their consciousness is covered. Very lower level of consciousness. Then sankuchit. Sankuchit is like constructed. Uh, the example is the animals, right? Their consciousness is very limited, very narrow. Give them some piece of bread and they're happy. Ahar nidra bhamathun, nothing else is needed. So this is sankuchit. Then after that, uh, uh, swachadit, sankuchit, and then there is one more. I'm forgetting the name. And then after that, the Viksit and the Purn Viksit. I'm just forgetting one name. So like that, there are different gradations of consciousness. So they say that there are different shloks for different folks, right? So all the verses are not for everyone. This is very advanced level of prayers. Like Kunti Maharani, we earlier also we read that Vipda Santuta Shashwat, that oh Lord, let those calamities happens again and again in my life. A sadhaka, ordinary devotee, practicing devotee, cannot pray like that. We can pray, but the prayer, we don't mean those prayers. We can like parrot like we can say all those things. So this is a very advanced level, number one. And also how do we understand is, see, as we grow, gradually we become advanced. Our aspirations, our desires, our prayers also gradually elevates. Like you see in the beginning when Prabhupada started, and then all these people were coming, all the hippies. Prabhupada used to feed them like anything. They'll eat like 10 chapatis, 15 chapatis, gulab jamuns. And Prabhupada said, eat nicely and do seva, dance. That was the beginning. That is how you can remain intact. So in the beginning, it is said, okay, nicely you eat till your neck. But as you become advanced, there is advanced instructions are also there. Same Prabhupada, later he says, balana khaivo, balana parivo. That is also the instruction given for the devotees only, right? Don't eat very luxuriously. Don't live very luxuriously, right? So it sounds very contradictory, but it is not contradictory. It is at the different level of your consciousness, different instructions are given to us, right? So yes, it is wonderful, all this instruction, but prematurely we cannot, apply and become irresponsible like that. Gradually we can aspire, and then gradually through the process, we will come to that level like that. Now, sometimes we get so inspired, oh wow, it is so wonderful, become detached. Now it is like, sometimes some preparations are served to us, some nice rajbhog comes, a lot of varieties. Say, for example, some paneer, very nutritious, a lot of protein. You give to a small child, you give some 20-gram paneer, it will upset his stomach because he cannot digest, the small child. So similarly, all these kind of instructions, They're like paneer, very nutritious. But if we don't have that digestive ability, if you eat, it will cause indigestion. So yes, we are discussing here, and we can aspire, we can develop those aspirations. So yeah, that is how it is. So what is happening here is she's saying that anything which disturbs my seva, I don't want that. It can be anything. If it is spiritual also, like say for example, eating prasadam is a devotional service. Now, in the beginning when you are young, you can eat whatever and how much ever you eat, you can digest everything. It doesn't really disturb much. But as you age, certain age, somebody will bring Prabhuji some prasadam. Says, Harival, can you give me the charana tulsi? That's all you want. Because if I eat some sweet and all that, I'll not be able to digest. I eat too much, it will disturb my stomach, and then probably I'll not be able to properly get up in the morning. That will disturb my seva. So important is my seva. So though it is a spiritual activity at that point, but still you say that I don't want that. I know what is important for me. So though these family relations that Kunti Maharani, they're all devotees only, then why she want to be detached from the devotees? We say that we should get attached to the devotees. There is this verse also by that Kapila Muni. He says that, what is that verse? Prasangam ajaram pasham atmana kaviyo vidu sa eva sadhu sukrito moksha dwaram apavradam. There is an instruction that one should get attached to the devotees. It's a very important principle, but it should be applied very carefully. The devotee's attachment is very, very essential for our spiritual progression. But if that attachment happens on a material platform, then it is not desirable. It is unfavorable. Now, as soon as the material conception comes, oh, this devotee is very nice, he's very loving to me, that devotee I don't like. As soon as it comes on the material platform, then immediately there is dvanda. Right? And I like him, I don't like him. So those kind of consciousness is not desirable. So Kunti Maharani is saying, if I think, oh, Krishna should remain here, then they're bereft. Krishna goes there, we are bereft. So my consciousness is destroyed. I don't want all this. I want to just get attached to Krishna only. So now somebody should ask the question here, or somebody can ask the question. So does it mean that in Krishna consciousness there's no scope for family affection? How do we do that? As a householder, as a grasta, we should be loving, caring, affectionate to our wife, kids, and all of that. How do we understand? So yes, we should be very, very loving and affectionate, especially the parents has to give all the love and affection to their kids. But that should not become too much that you can't think of Krishna. And all the time you are so absorbed of thinking of my wife, my kids, their comforts, their this thing, that thing, and there is hardly any scope for bringing Krishna into our consciousness. So that is what is the prohibited. That is what is rejected here. So yes, devotees naturally they're very loving, they're very, very affectionate. We should very lovingly bring the kids and the householders especially, but don't become blind by that attachment like the Dhritarashtra, Mamaka Pandava Shaiva. Not that kind of attachment. Very carefully draw the line. If that disturbs your consciousness, your Krishna consciousness, then stop, that pause, hold. So like that. And Prabhupada gives a nice example. Prabhupada gives this example. Anybody remember that how Prabhupada explains to maintain the relations in this world? Very nice analogy Prabhupada gives. Okay. Prabhupada says that when a young girl get married to the young boy, so she has only relationship with this boy, right? But as soon as she get attached or have that relationship with that boy, then automatically her all the relations with so many other people in the family are automatically established. So as soon as you get married to the boy, then he is father-in-law, she is mother-in-law, she is sister-in-law, and all the relations are automatically fall in place. So similarly, if we establish our relationship with Krishna, then all other relations, even our family relations, the people around us, the friends and the families and the relatives, everybody will fall in place. So far, Krishna remains the center of all those relations. Another example is given is that we always give, that when you throw a piece of stone in the water, it creates the ripple. So when you throw, it creates the ripple. You throw another piece, it will create another ripple. So far, all the stones are thrown into the same center. Multiple ripples will be created, but there will be no clash. But as soon as the center changes, one ripple is created here, another is created here, immediately there is a clash. So the secret of all the relations, while we are practicing Krishna consciousness, is Krishna should remain the center of all the relations, and then everything will fall in place. So like that we should understand. So Kunti Maharani is praying here that, you know, um, Sneha Bhasham Imam Chindi, cut off this tie of affection if it's disturbing my consciousness. So that is what is the prayer here. And then Prabhupada writes another thing is, he says, to cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities. Without doing this, no one can be qualified as a Brahmana, king, a public leader, or a devotee of the Lord. Nobody can be qualified as a Brahmana, as a king, as a public leader, and the devotee of the Lord. We cannot become the devotee without broadening or field of activities. Say, no, will remain the family, my bacha, my baby, my five, my kids, my relation. Today I had to go for this. Today, friends, another relative, and like that. We had to broaden our activities, scope our activities in devotional service. More and more devotional service, then automatically we get detached to all those, worldly things like that. Okay. So I'll close with this last verse. It's a beautiful verse which the Lord shows. It is in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by this Karbhajan Muni. It's a very nice verse. And something is very fascinating about this verse. I'll explain that. With that, we'll close. So this verse goes like that. In the 11th canto, 5th chapter, text number 34, says like this. त्यक्त्वा सुदुस्तजा सुरेप्सितराज्यलक्ष्मीं धर्मिष्ठार्यवचसाय अगाधरण्यं मायामृगां दयितयेप्सिताम् अन्वाधावत् वन्दे महापुरुषते चरणारविन्दम्. So actually, this verse says, Vande Mahapurusha Te Charanarvindam. I bow down. I offer my obeisances to whom? To whose lotus feet? Mahapurusha. Vande Mahapurusha. So it is explained, the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained, this verse can be applied to whom? Who that Mahapurusha? So actually it is applied to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the same words can be applied to even Krishna. It can be applied to even Rama also. This is the beauty of this verse. What he says, Tektva Sudustaja Surepsitara Jalakshmim. Tektva, he gave up. What he gave up? Sudustaja, which is very difficult to give up. What is that? Surepsita is something which even Sura, the demigods, aspire, which is very difficult to give up. What is that? Rajya, Lakshmim, kingdom, and Dharmasita, even the Dharma also, his own wife. So actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we apply to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the age of 24, he was having such a loving, beautiful wife, loving mother, so many followers, so much that everybody loved. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave up everything. And then he went where Yad Agadaranyam. He was traveling in the forest and chanting. Why? He's broadening his activities of devotional service. So you had to give up. It is dustaja. It is very difficult to give up. But one should be ready to give up. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave up. Krishna. Tektva sudustaja surepsitara jalakshmim. Krishna gave up when Krishna was in Vrindavan. He was the darling of Vrindavan. Everybody loved him like anything. More than their life, they loved him. But Krishna, he left Vrindavan. And then he went to Mathura and then later Dwaraka. So he gave up because he has some higher purpose, broaden the activities. right? And Lord Ramchandra also. That so this Teja Surepsita Rajya Lakshmi, he gave his own Rajya, whole kingdom, family, relations, affections, everything he gave up. And then he went to uh, Dandaka forest, Dandaka Aranyam. So this is the verse. So which says that one should be ready to be detached from whatever attachments are there. They are very difficult to give up. Dustuja, but one should be ready. And that happens only when you widens the scope of your activities of devotional service. Then automatically the detachment will come. Right? So this is what the Kunti Maharani is praying here. Sneha Bhashamimam Chindi, Tadam Pandu Shukrishnishu, that Krishna, please cut off this tie of affection. You're disturbing my consciousness. So this is the art of detachment. If you want to get attached to Krishna, we should learn to be detached to our worldly things. First, your personal self, then people around you, then your possessions, then your position, and even your conceptions. Many conceptions that we have, and that holds us back. Right. So this is how one should attach, and of course, attach to Krishna, and then gradually get detached. And of course, all these things should be done under the guidance of more experienced devotees. Otherwise, sometime on the name of on the detachment, we might become irresponsible, and that might create the havoc in our spiritual life. Instead of advancing in our spiritual life, our entire spiritual life get disturbed. And it happens with some devotees, and it happened. Many examples are there. Prematurely, they try to become too renounced, and then there is a fight in the family, and then there's a disturbance. So that is not something desirable. Okay, so these are some of the thoughts on this verse. Let me see anybody's any quick question or any comment, or somebody wants to add something to what we discussed. Okay, if there's no question, then we'll stop here.